Hi yogis, thank you for joining me on the mat. My name is Sam and today I will be guiding us through a vinyasa style fall equinox flow. Today is a very important day and a beautiful September afternoon for us to really acknowledge and recognize this sacred time of the fall equinox. This time where our daylight is matching in time to our night light and moving forward knowing as such, the days should be expected to become shorter. Wherever you are in the world, temperatures likely may become cooler, and the nature that surrounds us is reflective of a time of transition. As we look around in whatever area of the world you are, you may see the leaves on the trees beginning to prepare themselves to shed. And as such, this is a really beautiful time for us to bring some awareness to intentions or goals we may have set earlier in the year, and take a time to recognize the growth or the learning that we have endured as individuals up until this point in time. This is a great time as well to cultivate the gratitude for all that we have achieved and all that we are. Prepare to shed anything that is no longer serving us so we can move forward for the rest of the year with new goals and with a new mindset. This class does not require any props. However, there will be a few postures that I will be cueing the use of blocks. So it is not necessary. I will give either option and take any modification that you need throughout this class. We will begin today in child's pose. Allow the body to rest completely in our child's pose. Forehead might come to the mat if this is comfortable. Take any modification you would like. There is the option to keep the elbows lifted with active arms, and if you are taking this option, press firmly through the fingertips so you can really engage the muscles of the shoulder here. Alternatively, you can relax the arms right down into the mat. Take a few yogic deep breaths here, in through the nose and out through the nose. As we've spoken with intention, perhaps now is a time to think of intention for today's practice. With your next inhale breath, lift the gaze and begin to walk your hands so you can come to a seated thunderbolt pose where our sit bones will be resting on our heels. At this point in time, if this is an uncomfortable posture, there is the option to reach for our block and sit right down between our legs onto this block. Just adds a level of support so there's not as much strain on the ankles or the knees. In this seated posture, let's go ahead and take our hands on either side of our body and begin to magnetize your right ear to the right shoulder. It does not need to make contact, but feel this stretch come all the way down the left side of your neck, extending across the collarbone and down from the shoulder to the fingertips on that left side. Synchronizing your cycle of breath to this movement, let's go ahead and take some half circles, taking a moment to pause and feel the same sensation while we magnetize now the left ear to the left shoulder. Move at your pace. We're going to repeat this half moon stretch on either side. Finishing with the movement toward the left shoulder. Breathe into a neutral posture. With an inhale, let's take our arms overhead, reaching toward the sky, but try to create space between your shoulders and your ears. And a way to really be mindful of this posture and how you should feel it with your engagement of your muscles is to really not just down and back the shoulders, but press and almost feel the sensation of wrapping the shoulders down and forward. So you're really engaging the muscles of the side body to maintain this posture. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, taking the right hand down to the right side. We lean the body over into a side stretch, feeling length in the left side body. Option to deepen this by spiraling the heart or the left shoulder up toward the sky, taking the gaze in that direction. With your next inhale, return the arms lifted high toward the sky, exhaling the left hand down to the left side, leaning the body, finding openness now in the right side body. Option to open that heart, spiraling your right shoulder now and taking the gaze to the right. Inhale to return the arms overhead. Listen carefully. This time, exhale the right hand behind as a second spine, taking the left hand wherever is comfortable for you, but your gaze is now turning over the right shoulder. Stay here for a few rounds of breath. With your next exhale, your gaze is the first thing to return to the front. Unravel the body safely. Inhale the arms high. Exhale, left hand becomes a second spine, taking the gaze over that left shoulder. Again, the right hand can fall wherever is comfortable for you. I like to have it on the left thigh, but if this is too much, the important thing here is the foundation of your lower body, that left hand, and the gaze. With your next exhale, safely unravel the body by turning the gaze forward and then allowing the torso to meet. Find your hands onto the tops of the thighs. We're going to do some cat-cow movements in this position. So on an inhale, find expansion through the chest. Take the gaze slightly up toward the sky. Exhale, curve the spine, gently tuck the chin, and really allow the exhale breath to be pulled inward with your engagement of your navel coming toward the spine. Inhale, slide the hands up, take the gaze to the sky, find expansion and opening. Exhale, round the back, hands come toward the knees, and really tuck and pull the body inward. One more time here. Inhale, finding your cow. Exhale, rounding the back into your cat position. When you are ready, make your way to a tabletop position, making sure your fingers, the tips of your fingers are firmly rooted into your mat. Wrists are in line with your shoulders and your knees in line with your hips. Feel the even distribution of your weight here. Now we're going to allow the weight to come back ever so slightly more into the knees than to your wrists and come up onto your fingertips. Bring awareness into the left knee specifically as we begin to lift the right, stepping the foot through the hands and making adjustments to fully find ourselves into our crescent lunge. We want a neutral, slightly tucked pelvis here, engagement of the core so we can lift the pelvic floor and find opening in the chest. So we're not collapsing into this posture. This is a strong pose. Feel firmly rooted in the foundation of your feet. And with your next exhale, begin to straighten the right leg, possibly allowing the toes to point up toward the sky. This is a deep stretch, so don't be too hard on yourself if you really feel like the hamstrings need a bit of a bend in the knee. Try to really straighten the back by pulling in your core and feel this long line of energy all the way from your tailbone to your crown. We are beginning to energize the sensation of the strength from the ground below us, pulling it upward, cultivating it for this new transition. Begin to exhale and pull that right foot back so that the arch of our right foot is in line with our left knee. At this time, you may choose to bring a block into place, but let me explain what we're about to do. Slowly rest the body so that your left sit bone is in line with your left heel. That right sit bone is going to be hovering, and that is okay. But if this is too much, option here to take a block and set it right below that right sit bone. Inhale the arms high, wrapping the shoulder blades, finding real length with an inhale breath. Exhale to lower the hands out in front in the direction of the front of our mat, and taking the hands on the outside, wrapping around that right leg. There is the option to find a bind here. So what I am doing when I say bind is I'm reaching for the opposite hand. My right arm is wrapping around my right leg that is bent. Right sit bone is still lifted. But with the bind, I'm really squeezing my body inward, really finding engagement in my core, lifting the pelvic floor. And with this squeezing motion, I feel like my hip flexors beginning to turn on. If you are unable to reach for this hand, simply mimic this movement and squeeze the body in. That's the important thing here. It's okay if we do not make contact. That is perfectly fine. Inhale the body back up, roll forward onto our tabletop position, and find that alignment of wrists below shoulder, knee below hip. Bring the weight back into the knees like we did before. Come up onto our fingertips, making careful awareness now into that right knee. We begin to pull the left foot forward, coming into our low lunge. So make any adjustments you need here to firm your foundation. I like to really press in to the top of my right foot, my back foot. I'm really pressing in firmly into the mat, finding length in that extended leg, firming the foundation of my bent knee right down to the foot as well. Opening the chest, not sinking or collapsing, finding length from our root to our crown. With your next exhale, begin to push away from that left foot, straightening that front leg now into our half split. Make any adjustments you need. And again, be kind on yourself. If your hamstrings are screaming at you, bend that knee so that you can protect them. Find length in your backside body, all the way from the root to the crown, drawing up the energy from the surface below us. With your next exhale, begin to drag the left foot back, finding alignment with the arch of your left foot and the right knee. Again, there is the option here to take our block and set it right underneath the left sit bone. If this is a posture that felt okay on the other side and you think you do not need the block, again, it's okay to keep that sit bone lifted. On an inhale, we rise our hands toward the sky. Exhale, our arms toward the front of the mat on the inside of our bent knee, and wrap our left arm all the way around that bent knee, reaching with intention. If we cannot get the grasp, that's okay. Reaching all the way around, wrapping. If we do have the bind, do not allow it to compromise the integrity of your spine. The body is still positioned toward the front of the mat here. Create tight contraction. Bring the core in, lift the pelvic floor, and begin to fire up that hip flexor on the left leg. With your next exhale, release. Inhale, return to tabletop as a means of transition. Tucking the toes, pushing the body back into a modified child's pose with the toes tucked. Inhale, pouncing the body to a plank position. And exhale to downward facing dog. If this is the first dog of your practice, Really feel into the movements that your body is asking of you. Firming the foundations of your fingers, pressing the tips of each finger into your mat, wrapping the shoulders around, engaging the core, knitting the ribs so that your tailbone lifts with ease, taking weight off of the point of contact that you have with the mat. With your next inhale breath, begin to lift the heels. Exhale, step each foot a little bit closer and settle into this shortened downward dog. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, take another step forward. Again, this is a shortened downward dog. If you need a deep bend in the knees to maintain this posture, absolutely honor that. Inhale, lift the heels. Last time. Exhale, shorten the stance. So this is almost a forward fold, but we're going to call it a shortened dog. And with your breath, when you are ready, walk completely to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift when you arrive, and exhale, completely fold the body down. Weight pours into the tips of the toes. Gaze comes towards the navel. Now exhale, bend the knees deeply as we roll the body up, one vertebrae at a time. Your head is the last thing to be completely upright. Exhale, release, and allow the shoulders to relax down and back. Come all the way forward if you're not already here to the front of your mat into our mountain pose, Tadasana. Our hands on either side, palms facing forward. Perhaps power down the eyes and feel the sensation and the strength that comes from this pose. Take a moment, return to your intention. Feel grounded and supported from the ground beneath you. Focus on all four corners of both feet as your foundation is strong. You feel stable. You know you are secure in this posture. With your next inhale, arms rise overhead. Wrap those shoulder blades down and back. Exhale, fold the body down completely. Weight pours into the tips of the toes. Take the gaze to the navel. Inhale, halfway lift, strong core, flat back. Exhale, make your way through your vinyasa. I'm going to be stepping to plank, lowering knees, chest and chin, and inhaling to cobra. Regardless of what option you took, we all meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg kicks high up and away. Exhale, knee to chest as the right foot steps just right of center line. Prepare before we rise for our warrior one posture. So the back foot is on a slight angle. Front knee is bent. Core, pelvic floor are engaged, and that carries us up and allows us to be strong in our warrior one stance. Deep bend in the front knee. Ensure that both hip points are facing like headlights, directing in toward the front of our mat. Exhale the body down to frame that front foot. Stepping the back foot just slightly inward. Maintain the angle of your back foot, just like it's a warrior one foot. Straightening the front leg and exhaling the body down into a pyramid pose. Retract your core. Pull through the left hip in the direction of the front of the mat and magnetize the right hip back so that you can really find a parallel pelvis. Parallel in line with the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift, deeply bend that front leg, stepping the left foot back, windmilling the body open into a warrior two position. Our pelvis is now in line with the long side of our mat. Taking the gaze over the front, hand engaging the backs of our triceps to create strength. The strength comes from our pelvis, through our pelvic floor, our core, expansion through the chest. These times of transition, we cultivate warrior energy to get through. A lot of times things look darker before they become beautiful again. And if anyone's experiencing this, now's the time to ignite the fire in these strong, long hold poses. Inhale, straightening the front leg, perhaps shortening your stance if it's in your practice. Exhaling the body down to our triangle pose. Imagining there's a wall behind me, so I'm really pressing the body so that it is a nice flat sheet. Inhale the body up, and exhale in this reverse triangle pose, taking the gaze to the left hand on the back of that leg. Inhale back up, pivot the front foot so that they are in line with the back foot. Lift the heels. We're coming into a goddess pose. These are strong poses, so settling down. We try to avoid really arching the lower back. I have a hard time with this because I have very tight hips. So if you're the same with me, there might be an arch, but really the idea is the intention of feeling that sensation of a strong center body and an opening that may feel vulnerable, but know that there's strength backed behind it. I like to have my hands in cactus arms because it just brings a lot of strength and mindfulness into this posture. Hold here for another round of breath. Really pressing into the outside edges of the feet. We inhale the body up, windmill and pivot the back foot so we can frame the front, kicking the leg up and away in a three-legged dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Repeating this on the left side. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, crunching through center line, stepping just left of center, pivoting my warrior one foot, strengthening the body to rise up. My hip points or my headlights are facing the front of my mat. Shoulders down and back. Pelvic floor is lifted, rooting the energy from the ground to the crown. Exhale to frame that front foot, shorten the stance, maintain the back angle of the foot, and any adjustments you may need to come into our pyramid pose. Remember, naturally, this pyramid pose will make your right hip bow out, and we really want alignment with these hips. So magnetize the right hip toward the front of the mat and press that left hip back, scissoring the thighs beneath one or together. Taking the gaze where you'd like. It could be the front toe, could be forehead to knee, taking the gaze all the way to the navel. Return the hands to frame that left foot. Deeply bend the front leg, allowing your back foot to come to a warrior two position, heel to arch alignment, or whatever your warrior looks like. Deeply bending the front knee, finding strength through the pelvis, strength through the core, expansion through the collarbones, an opening of the arms, an activation of those triceps. So there is a lot of strength coming in this pose. It takes a warrior to overcome challenge and to grow. And that's what we're embodying. Straighten the front leg on an inhale breath. Perhaps shorten your stance, preparing for Trikonasana, triangle pose. Open the palms. Exhale the body down. Strong core. You're going to likely feel this in your obliques and the muscles of that right side body. Inhale the body back up. Exhale in a reverse triangle. Right hand falls to the back side of that right leg, taking the gaze to the hand. Inhale to return. Pivot the feet so that they are parallel in line with the length side of the mat. Turn the heels inward, preparing for our goddess pose. I'm just going to turn around so you can see me a little bit better. Lowering the body down, pressing on the knife edge of both of our feet. Our thighs and our knees magnetize out so that we can pull the pelvis forward. Arms can come up strong in a cactus. And breathe. Press through those feet on an inhale breath. We inhale the body completely up, straightening the legs. Pivot toward the front of the mat, framing that right foot. Right foot kicks up and away. Exhale, return. Downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, bend the knees. Walk, step, or jump to the front of the mat. On arrival, inhale, halfway lift. Strong core, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Weight pours into the tips of the toes. Inhale, rise all the way up. Arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, seal through heart center, opening the palms on either side in a mountain pose. If you'd like, go ahead and power down the eyes and really feel into this pose again. Returning to strength, stability, and a firm foundation. We are now changing the pace of this class, so energetically and physically, I would like us to take a small step back from the front of our mat. With your next inhale breath, bring awareness to the left side as you firm that foundation, lifting with an inhale breath, the right knee high and secured into the chest. I like to activate my foot so it's flexed with pointed toes, or what we like to say in yoga, flointed feet. So real engagement with that hip flexor and with the lower core pelvic floor to rise into our stork pose. Hold. Squeeze that leg in as tight as you can to the chest. You're really going to feel it here. When you exhale with control, listen carefully. Our left knee bends as well as we come and lower in to a chair pose. Arms come overhead. Knees are gently bent, and you're going to tuck that pelvis. So again, avoiding that sensation of arching the back, we really want to tuck that pelvis, lift the pelvic floor, tighten the core, and take the gaze between the hands. With your inhale, begin to straighten your legs. Weight pours again into the left foot, bringing the right knee high into a tree pose. Hold this tree pose. I'm just going to bring your awareness to a cueing that I really find is super helpful in this posture. I like to press, not only are we opening the hip on this right side, anchor the knee down. So you're really pressing in the ball of your feet. Knee, foot into leg, leg into foot to really open and allow your pelvis to find a really neutral position here. You may find a release. Inhale to find length. Exhale, the right leg comes down to meet the left. Return to mountain. Awareness now to the right side body. Weight pours into the right foot. Inhale, breath carries with it the left knee high to the chest in stork. Flointed active feet. And really activate, pulling that knee toward the chest. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to contract. You may bring it even closer. One more round of breath. Take your hands where you'd like them. And on your next exhale, begin to bend the right knee, coming into our chair pose. tucking the pelvis, pulling in the core, knitting in the ribs, shoulders wrapping around our rib cage. Take the gaze between the hands. Feel the strength of this posture. On an inhale, we come up, and with it, our leg falls into our tree pose. Take it wherever you'd like, but the knee is open and magnetizing toward the ground. Take your hands where you'd like as well. Take a moment to feel rooted, grounded. When the leaves begin to change, we notice this period of death as the leaves fall off the trees. And there's so much more happening than what we know in nature. Coating the ground, protecting it like a coat for the winter months ahead. Everything is symbolic, everything has purpose. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to lower the leg. Similarly, on our path, so much has purpose that we may not know in the moment. And so we take a warrior or a goddess energy when we meet challenges and when we meet things that may seem like dead ends or may seem like a period of a death of a certain life cycle. We take it with dignity and with honor, just as nature does. Now we're still somewhat stepped away from the front of our mat. Widen your stance, bringing your toes out and your heels slightly in. Imagining there's a wall behind me as I slide the body down, finding ourselves in a yogi pose, malasana. Inhale, arms overhead. I like to bring them down to heart center. Exhale, sliding the body down with control. Malasana, yogi squat. Find an opening in your chest. Core is engaged to really allow your posture to be tall and pronounced. So we're not slouching or caving into this position. Allow your hands to make contact with the mat. As a transition, we're going to pivot the right foot so it is facing forward. Lift the pelvis to tuck the left knee, returning to this posture with the bind. So if you need a block for your right sit bone, now's the time to get it. Lowering the body back, left sit bone to left heel. Inhaling, arms high. Exhaling, forward, taking a wrap around our right leg. This is a great opportunity through this repetitive exercise or position or posture, a great opportunity to notice how your body feels this time. We've done some activation with our hip flexors and our core. Does it feel any different? You feel like the level of compression is a little bit more intense? Inhale, lift the body up. Exhale, come back in, yogi squat. A few breaths here. Take the hands down to the earth, pivot the left foot forward to the front of your mat. Lift the hips to transition. Right knee comes down in line with the arch of the left foot. If you'd like the block, it goes underneath the left sit bone. If not, we lower down, right sit bone to right heel. Inhale, arms go high. Exhale them forward toward the front of your mat and wrap around that left bent knee. If you've got the bind, or if you just have intention of the bind, compression is key. So really tighten the body down as tight as you can into this small ball, energetically just squeezing out anything that is not serving you, any tension, any doubt, any fear. Inhale, unravel the body, placing the hands forward, and now coming back into a thunderbolt pose. So we've come full circle. This is again another posture from the beginning of today's class. Option for the block between the legs to rest your sit bones on at this time. There's another option for the use of both blocks, so listen carefully. From here, both hands plant on either side of our legs. In this exercise, we will repeat 3 times. What we're going to do is firmly root our fingertips into the mat Exhale and crunch this cat back where we curve navel to spine, engagement of the core, lift the pelvic floor. And when we do that, we're going to lift, pressing into the tops of our toes, the tops of our feet, lifting the body up, and exhale down. Alternatively, we can the use of our blocks can come into play here. Bringing them to either side where your hands would be for this exercise, and pushing through, engaging the core, retracting the body up and lowering. We'll repeat this exercise one more time. Pressing firmly through the fingertips, protect your wrists. Exhale, tighten the core, cat back as we press up and lower. For any yogis who are used to doing the swing through, now you can use that momentum to bring you to a seated posture. Otherwise, make your way there. I'm still working on it, but it's always something that I like to try. When you come to your seated pose, bring your knees high, possibly straightening the legs, roll back on to your sit bones. Find an opening and expansion through the collarbones. Come into your boat pose. A few more rounds of breath here. With your next exhale, bend the knees and just hover the toes onto your mat with control. Engagement of the core. Slowly lower down and bring the knees right into the chest. Exhale, feet come down to the mat, knees bent in the direction of the sky. Let us set a foundation for bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana. Feet are firmly rooted with all four corners. As we know from today's practice, this gives us strength in our foundation. Arms on either side, palms resting down in our mat. Begin to slowly lift the pelvis, lift the hips, and bring the weight on to the shoulders. Inner thighs spiral toward one another. Feel activation of the muscles of the backside body. We're here for a few more breaths. Inhale, find a little bit more height. Exhale, one vertebrae at a time, slowly lower. Come up onto your tiptoes, so this really feels like a nice massage of the backside body. Take a moment here once you've arrived in stillness. And when it feels right to do so, take a couple of windmill motions with the legs, falling the knees over from side to side, massaging out your sacrum, your glutes, your hips. Opportunity here to take any final postures that are calling to you, postures you like to integrate in your daily practice. Otherwise, you can join me in extending the legs long, keeping the arms by the side, lifting the palms, and powering down the eyes in a Shavasana. This active relaxation is what our goal is in this posture. Keep your awareness in your body, in your breath, in your practice. If your mind wanders, call it back. Feel supported by the earth below you. And really allow yourself to harvest the fruit of the labor and the energy that was cultivated during this time, during today's practice. Begin to deepen your breath, bringing slight movements to your fingers, your toes, perhaps moving your thumb and dragging it over each fingertip, making some small circles with your wrists and your ankles. And with your inhale, take a nice stretch, reaching the arms overhead, taking the legs long, feeling length. Roll the body over into a fetal pose on your preferred side. And allow your head to rest on your extended arm as if it's a pillow. Press yourself up to a seated pose, taking with you this energy of Shavasana, so not yet waking the body up entirely. Take a moment with the eyes powered down. Find length through the spine. Feel the sit bones really anchoring into the ground, and pull that energy with your breath up all the way to the crown of your head and back down with an exhale. Repeat this with a cycle of breath. Inhale the energy all the way from your root, from your seat, up through the body, all the way to the crown. Feel the lightness that comes from this energy exchange in your breath. When you're feeling ready, slowly begin to blink the eyes open. Taking the hands on either side, inhaling the breath, drawing the energy that surrounds you overhead until your hands meet, pulling them down to heart center. Thank you for joining me in today's Fall Equinox flow. I encourage you to follow or pair this class with an opportunity to journal. Reflect on your intentions and the goals that you have met, the things that you have learned from so far in this year. Cultivate a level of gratitude for all that you have, for all that you are, and all that you are becoming. For this period of change allows us to pull with forward momentum, continued growth for the remainder of the year. I'll see you next time.